What's going on, everybody? Here's my Dex build for Dragon Age Origin. Dex dual-wielding rogue assassin. And this will include party tactics and point distribution, things like that. Even the equipment I'm using. Give you guys an idea of where I'm at. How I like to build my team. Alright, first rule of the day is if you're building your party to where each member has enough defense to essentially be a tank, then you're probably running into a lot of problems because not everyone's a tank. Alistair is your tank. Build him to draw all the hate and keep it. And have your mages keep him on his feet, and your damage dealers can do their job. You don't have to be a tank if you're not getting hit, so there you have it. Let everybody be hitting on Alistair, and then you stab him in the back. Alright. I have sunk just about everything into dexterity, except the points that I needed minimum in cunning to do things like max out my persuasion and stuff like that. All right, with Wynn, I lean towards willpower rather than magic. I give her enough magic to cast the spells that she needs, all right, and then put the rest in her mana pool. Willpower. Don't use Ogren a lot, but lean more towards strength and constitution. Shale just comes with a crap ton of constitution as it is, but he's kind of about the same. Leliana, cunning is good because she has some abilities that rely on it, but dexterity determines her bow damage. So it's kind of a one-for-one there, back and forth. All right, now with Alistair, he's going to need some dexterity for his shield skills. All right, there's going to be some minimum stats he needs for those to get expert shield and shield master and whatever. All right, but strength and constitution, kind of a one-for-one there. He has minimum strength requirements for a lot of his equipment, too, so keep that in mind. Morgan, I lean more towards magic than willpower, kind of a reverse of Wynn, because she needs to do damage. Okay, Sten, I really don't ever run with Sten, honestly. His stats, I haven't messed with them a lot. He's got the minimum what he needs for equipment and then some, but... And Zevran, I don't run with him much either because he does what I do, right? And if I'm doing it, I don't need him, tripping under my feet. All right, max out persuasion. The nature skill gives me some nature resistance, which is a good thing. And then that gives me a little bit extra attack and defense. Maxing out the combat, even though I don't have any skills that require the master level combat training, I still get that... I still get a little bit of a buff from mastering that out, and that's fine. I mean, I have points to spare in that. Rogues get the most of those skill points. All right, and then when it comes to my actual talents, pretty much any passive is a good thing, okay? And I will be looking to get lethality, all right? And this is when you have more cunning than strength. Your cunning kind of replaces your strength as a damage modifier, okay? And with all my buffs and everything, it is actually getting up there. I really haven't put anything into it above and beyond what I needed for my abilities, right? Things like lockpicking and stealth and stuff. But, hey, if it's higher, I might as well take a little buff. It'd probably put an extra 6 points of damage on my stuff. I think it's a half point per point of cunning. Extra damage, maybe an extra 1 point towards your backstabs or something like that. Doesn't really matter. Anything's better than nothing. And at this point, I'm really looking for places to spend points anyway. Now, I've got a few more levels to go, and it's just kind of whatever. Mark of Death, great skill with the Assassin, but I'm not in the habit of using it, to be honest. I can have Leliana do that if I have her in the party, but I'm going to assign it there and try to get in the habit of having that. It's really good against bosses. It kind of gives everybody a little bonus, all right? And then that just stays on all the time. Dueling, all right, gives me an attack bonus, okay? And then Keen Defense is a passive that's always active. And it just adds to my defense overall. And it even adds to my dueling bonus, I believe. Okay, now dual weapon mastery, the reason I don't get this last one is it doesn't do me any good. I really don't have any active abilities that I use. If you'll notice the second tier of this dual weapon tree, I don't have anything in it because I don't use them, right? I rely mostly on basic attacks. I use the dual weapon sweep for mobs here and there, but I pretty much get in behind people and just rely on backstabs. But I do keep momentum active at all time. And momentum was actually a skill I made a beeline for very early in the game because it essentially adds to your attack speed, which adds to your overall DPS. You're going to do more damage if you can attack faster. And if you have a really high dex, you're almost never going to miss. Okay? Some skills Wynn started with when I got her, even though I did get her early at the tower, so she didn't have a lot of pre-assigned default abilities already picked. Still, she had some. Okay, but of the few that I have picked, I am going to eventually get that Cleansing Aura just to play with it, because I don't think I've ever really run her with that active. But she has such an extensive mana pool that I'm thinking, you know, I can pick it when I run out of other things to get. Petrify is one that I'll probably be getting next, actually. I would like to be able to paralyze enemies. I think they take extra damage from like Shattering Blows, Shield Bash. In fact, I think a Petrified opponent will take extra damage from Stone Fist. Figure out how to set that up in the tactics, but I'll probably mess with that. Some of these skills are reserved essentially just for Alistair, right? If Alistair's drawing all the hate, then he needs the most defense and the healing and you know, buffs and things like that, right? So things like Heroic Defense, I don't assign when to spam that on everyone in the party. You'll see in the tactics I have a lot that's assigned to just Alistair. You know, not to worry about other people, because if Alistair's doing his job, the mob shouldn't be running all over the place like ants attacking all my party members anyway. They should be pretty much worried about Alistair. And the higher level you get and the more stuff he has to taunt and things, the better it is. Ogren's set up a lot like Sten. Basically, hit everything and hit it as hard as you can. I do keep them with the one thing that makes them a little bit more tempting target for the enemy. But they're really not tanks. They're not real tanky on Nightmare. They can take some damage for a little bit. I mean, we did all right in the Deep Roads, but he was kind of splitting duties between himself and Shale, and I still had to come in there and tank some stuff. Simply because they couldn't hit me. It's not that I'm not squishy, it's just that my defense is through the roof. Right? And with the ridiculous amount of dexterity that you see on my character, which not only raises your attack and your damage with daggers and stuff, I think it's for every point of dexterity, it's a quarter point of damage or a half or something like that. Whatever, added to your base damage stat. But it makes my defense just ridiculous. All right. Leliana, there's still some things I want for her. Lethality is really going to play into her having a high cunning. Okay, and her cunning's really getting up there. Her dexterity is good enough too. She has enough strength to equip the armor she's wearing, and I don't put points in anything else. Like I say, she shouldn't be getting hit. That's the thing. And if Alistair's doing his job and Wynn is keeping Alistair on his feet, then she shouldn't have mobs harassing her all the time. But she can also throw the Mark of Death out there. That means I don't have to, which means I probably honestly will never get in the habit. If you watch the rest of my Let's Play, you'll see that I probably won't be using Mark of Death a lot, because I'll forget. I'm just in there just, being stabbity. That's all I'm doing. Alright, Song of Valor is probably my favorite. Song of Courage gives you some good offensive stuff, especially raising critical chance and all that for everybody in the party. That's great. But the mana regeneration from Song of Valor is what I like best, honestly. Also, I've made the mistake before of going with Rapid Shot, but what it does is it takes away her chance of scoring regular criticals. And with a high cunning and even good dex and stuff, I mean, she should have a good critical chance. So I go with Aim instead. It slows down her fire a little bit, but I think she has Rapid Fire on her bow anyway. She's got Marjolaine's bow from doing her personal quest, and that bow's like ideal for her. Okay, now with Alistair, anything that draws hate, alright? Anything that allows him to keep it, not die instantly, okay? And any way he can buff the party with his sustained abilities and draw the heat on himself, I'm cool with that, okay? And he has a lot of good passives in here and stuff. That Holy Smite, I've never messed with that a lot. That's like way up the tree, and it seems like I always wind up putting his points in other things that I like better. But it looks like it might be a little bit like Mana Clash, but something he has to do more in melee range or something. I don't know. But I haven't personally messed with it a lot, never really needed it. I'm not missing it, so I'm not really looking for it. Let's put it that way. But Shield Wall is pretty much his go-to, all right, because it kind of sums up all the other shield abilities together, right? And then his Shield Mastery and Shield Expertise kind of add to that, and they make it much more effective. Now, Morgan didn't start with any of these top tier abilities up there, and I haven't given her any yet. I like her offensive stuff down here. Cone of Cold is good when I'm controlling her for a mob in a pinch. I would say it's almost a wasted point, because it's as much a team killer as it is an enemy killer, but if you can get her alone with a mob of enemies in front of her, she can freeze them all in place and at least get away. The Glyph of Paralysis, with her and Wynn together, spamming that, you can keep a lot of the battlefield under control, alright? And she has similar spirit spells to what Wynn does. Crushing Prison is a good one. I'm going to work Wynn towards that also. And here's some stuff down here that I just don't have the tactic slots open for it But all these are good in their own right, okay? As far as debuffing, hurting the enemies. I do have Drain Life assigned to her tactics, though, because that's kind of a buffer between her being full health and her having to use a potion at 50%, all right? I have her set to Drain Life, which also does damage to an enemy, right, at 75%. All right, and Zevran, he's kind of set up like me, but he had a lot of default skills assigned already. He needs a stamina pool up there. I just don't run with him a lot. Like I say, if I was running a warrior, I might bring him along as the rogue in the party and put a little more attention to detail in building him up. But yeah, I just don't use him a lot. If you are using him, build him similar to what you see my character built as. Just keep in mind he's not going to be doing a lot of backstabs, so having some more active abilities for him might be a good idea. All right, and here we go. Here's Wind's tactics. This is what I have her set to do. Glyph of Paralysis to any enemy in short and medium range. That's anyone she can essentially see that's more or less near her. Stop them right there. A lot of times if they're on their way towards her, you know, she can stop them in their tracks. You see someone paralyzed, go stab them in the back. Notice a lot of this stuff is geared towards Alistair, right? Regeneration when he's at 75. If he's at 75% health, he's starting to get hurt. Before he has to start slugging down potions like a madman, hit him with regeneration, and it's going to keep his health hopefully about even, going up as fast as it's going down, depending on who's attacking him and stuff. But there you go. Ally any revival. She's not going to use revive unless somebody's knocked out. So anybody that's knocked out, you could also center that just on Alistair, so she doesn't wind up spending that on one person and then let Alistair go down. And if he does, the whole party's wiped. But on the same token, if you have force field available for Alistair, then he shouldn't go down, you know, in an ideal world anyway. All right. And then Liliana, you know, self any Song of Valor. And then if a target rank is, you know, a boss or higher or elite boss, then activate maybe Song of Courage, because if it's a boss, it's going to hit you anyway, you know, so might want to kill it before it kills you. Whatever. But then, you know, you could also say with Song of Valor, you've got the mana regen up there, and that keeps Win fuller of mana. So yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag there. Either way you want to go. And then, you know, look at what certain abilities do, and then find a time for, you know, if you find an ability you like, don't just say enemy any, use that ability. If they're spamming that ability, they're going to have no stamina ever available. That ability's going to always be on cooldown, you know. Find a situation that ability is geared towards, and certain enemies that are actually going to be a threat. Instead of, say, any enemy, how about an enemy that's just elite or higher to use Mark of Death on? An enemy only with a higher armor rating to use Shattering Shot, which breaks down armor. You know, things like that. Keep that stuff in mind. All right, but notice Alistair, if an enemy is attacking my mage, to taunt them, even from a distance, it's kind of like challenge works in Dragon Age Inquisition, similar to that, but it will draw that enemy away to himself. And Win should, of course, be focused on Alistair to keep him on his feet so he can take it. So anything to draw hate and keep it, all right? War cries, when he's surrounded by groups, to make sure those groups keep surrounding him. Threaten, active all the time. Taunt any enemy that's not worried about him so that they become worried about him. That type of thing. And your mages and your DPS should be able to pretty much do their thing. And you'll see a party like that pretty much walk through things. Okay? And notice I'm pointing out here that the behaviors are also important. Your ranged party members like your mages and Liliana, you want them ranged, right? Your tanks, you want them aggressive. You want them chasing down and attacking everybody and everything on sight. As soon as an enemy's in their range, they should be after it, you know, to draw the heat to themselves first. Where your ranged characters can sit back and be sissies and, you know, pick the enemy off from a distance. Especially your mages, because your mages are really squishy. All right, especially if you're dumping points like in my build here, I dump points into their primary stats. You know, my mages get willpower and magic, period, pretty much, unless they need something, some minimum requirement for some like kind of gear or something, which really isn't the case with mages. It does come into play with like warriors and rogues though. Like Alistair, I probably wouldn't put a lot of points into dex. I'm not going to put enough points into dex to justify a high defense, so why bother at all? But he needs a certain minimum for his shield skills, so I do that, you know. And then once he's got the minimum, everything else goes into strength and constitution. Everything for my rogue has literally gone into dexterity. All right, and then my equipment, the Rose's Thorn is from Shop in Orzammar. right? And we just got the Dead Tig Shanker, my other dagger from the DLC. Before that, I was using the Edge, which is also a DLC dagger. If I wasn't using that, I'd probably be using the one you get with the Drifter's Cache. Thorn of the Dead Gods, I think. I'd probably be using that, or a Crow Dagger or something. Anything gives you critical damage. These were bought in Dusttown, there, in Orzammar. And then the Felon's Coat was bought at the shop in Denerim. I think once you've completed 1 or 2 main story missions, that'll be available to buy there. And then these were bought, I believe, right here by from Bodan. And I don't even wear a helmet, and that's just my choice, because I like my character's face. I spent a lot of time on it. I'm certainly not going to cover it up. That was bought from the Quartermaster at the Circle Tower. This was a DLC item. I haven't really found another pendant. I don't really care. What I needed was 5 extra points to my attributes. In between the belt, the key to the city, which I got in Orzammar, and this, which is also a DLC item, but I could be using something else to at least get my minimum for strength. Any ring that gives me either +1 to attributes or plus anything to strength would have worked for that. And these are the tactics for my character, but I'm usually controlling my character. But should I leave, this is what my character can do on its own. Just run around, and it's very vanilla. I haven't put much into extra tactic slots or any of that, so there you have it. Alright, that is our party, Bill. Let's rub the puppy's tummy before we get out of here, and we'll go off and do some more adventuring. Alright, thanks for tuning in, guys, and checking out my character build. Watching the Let's Play. For more Origins, click the top box. Want to subscribe, click that button over my head. That'd be awesome. And then for a complete list of all my playlists, click the bottom box. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.